play the clip, the full clip that he puts out, and then we have other clips from online that fills in the gaps, like that's not covered yet. Yeah, so let's do that. You know how this goes. Let us know. We'll be stopping and starting this a lot. It's a 12-minute clip.
We have special guests with us. Marianne Williamson is here. She's a best-selling author, lecturer, activist, as well as a 2024 Democratic candidate for president of the United States. She previously ran in 2020, and in 1989, she founded Project Angel Food, a nonprofit that delivers meals to ill and dying homebound patients. In 2004, she co-founded the Peace Alliance, a nonprofit grassroots education and advocacy organization focused on increasing U.S. government support of peace-building approaches to domestic and international conflicts. Please welcome back to the show, Marianne Williamson. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Jimmy. It's nice to see you, and thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. Now, last time we talked, you weren't sure about Medicare for All or Julian Assange, and I think you have different stances on both those things. How do you feel about Julian Assange now?
So let's stop there, because I do want to make the point. So Julian Assange and Medicare for All, we're talking in 3 years, she just got on board with that. Because in 2020 is when she ran, right? Yeah, 2020 is when she ran, and she was on the show, Jimmy's show. This is when she was against Julian Assange, and she was against Medicare for All. So do we believe that somehow in 3 years she saw the light on these two huge left issues? Absolutely. Not just regular, huge left issues. When she said, hey, I want to do this again and promote books, so I need to learn what these motherfuckers like. And they like this and this, so I need to change what I believe. Is that more likely, or did she learn something and change her views? Go ahead, Nick. You're going to chime in.
Now, CJ, what does it say about someone that at the tender age of 60, let's round down. I don't know her age, so let's round down.
She's 71 or something like that.
71. So let's say 65, just to be safe. So at the tender age of 65, 68, she decided that healthcare should be a human right, right? Now, these were things that I always inherently knew. I always like, man, healthcare why the fuck are people being charged by that? Now, the concept of single payer advocated by Joe Stein, the Green Party, and Bernie Sanders campaign opened that idea up as possibilities for the working class. But the working class and people are generally not against free healthcare. That's why the idea was always extremely popular. That's why the idea swept over every single developed nation. How are you, a 60-year-old woman who lived in the 2000s, the 90s, and you did not agree with universal health care? I promise you, if you ask people, should you be charged a shit ton with health care, even before the Bernie Sanders campaign, they would tell you no. Well, they would tell you they support Medicare for All? No, because they didn't know about it before Bernie. But people inherently wanted that to happen. That's why single payer was always a movement. That's why Nancy Pelosi advocated for it in the 80s. It always was a thing, because people always had that moral compass. Was it always popularized? No, but it always had support. But Marianne was part of the people that didn't support it. Like, what the fuck? There was a party where you didn't support healthcare? Now, once again, I wasn't always a Medicare for All activist because I wasn't aware of the bill. But it was something I always inherently knew was correct. There was a large part of Marianne's life where she didn't inherently believe that was correct, which is just weird. But anyway, let's continue.
Absolutely.
No.
Take those charges down day one.
You would not prosecute him. You'd let him free. Let him go
Absolutely
free.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. On Julian Assange, when we spoke before, which was years ago now,
right?
I wasn't so sure. I'm certainly sure about that now. And on Medicare for All, you were one of the people that I think started to really change my mind. Actually.
Okay, so you're a full backer of Medicare for All.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
completely.
that certainly separates you from the rest of the Democratic primary pack, because Joe Biden is determined to not let people get health care. He didn't give us the public option he promised, and he's now repealing Medicare for people that had it during the pandemic. So, Marianne, how did the Democratic Party become the party of censorship and war?
Now, how did the Democratic Party become the party of censorship and war? So let me ask you this, Nick. what party has, I mean, we're talking about, let's look at the last several presidents. Barack Obama, I think he came in to the presidency, 2 wars going on, left with 7. I don't think Donald Trump started new wars. We see with Joe Biden, you got the Ukraine, and then you got him marching towards China. So for me, I didn't feel like this was a loaded question. I didn't feel like this was a question that most sort of intellectuals are calling the Democratic Party a war party. We've seen several articles with titles, varying titles, that talk about this. So I didn't think this was a question that the facts of the question was in question. But apparently Marianne Williamson does, and she takes issue. So let's listen.
Well, I don't, when it comes to being the party of war, I think both of them, I mean, both when it comes to big oil and defense contractors, both the Republicans and the Democrats are in lockstep with their corporate donors on that. So I don't think of it as the party of war any more than the Republicans are, actually. I mean, you can look at individuals, but I just think of the military-industrial complex as having.
Is it Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, the clowns of the Republican Party? Aren't they leading the pack to defund this war? Aren't Republicans the ones right now? Even though, like you say, and I say all the time, we don't necessarily believe them, but at least they're publicly saying these things. They're the ones that want oversight. So for her to answer the question as if both parties at least are projecting 2 different messages. Go ahead.
So on both points, her hero Bernie Sanders, who I couldn't get to condemn on my show, voted against oversight for military weapons to the most corrupt country in Europe. He don't even want oversight over that. And do you guys want to know what AOC's biggest criticism of Facebook is? Glenn Greenwald has done great segments discussing how the FBI is working with with Facebook and Facebook keep folding to pressure under the government to censor. But AOC's biggest criticism of Facebook is that Facebook does not censor enough. You guys know that? You know, remember the show trials when you're like, why you guys allowing hate speech to spread on your platform? Why is she doing that? Because she's advocating for censorship. AOC is the biggest advocate of censorship. When Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News, what did she say? She said deplatforming works. Now Tucker Carlson left Fox News, is more popular than ever. People say he might win the presidency. That's how popular he is now. The leading advocate for censorship are the progressive left. You have the AOC, Jamal Bowman's, Ilhan Omar's. They will critique the neoliberals in their party on censorship and pretend they are being on the left. You guys are weak on hate speech. Look at me, I'm progressive. That is not, you're not being a progressive, you're being an authoritarian. Because
they view.
Go ahead, CJ, go ahead.
I was gonna say liberals view their authoritarianism the same way that a police officer views their authoritarianism. By design of their job, they're authoritarians. They tell you what to do, but they believe they're telling you what to do for your own good. And that's what liberals think. That's what they think separates them, or that's the thing that prevents them from seeing or acknowledging that they are way more authoritarian, because it's for their good, guys. It's for the good. It's for their own good. It's cultural imperialism, really, on this way. But go ahead, Nick, if you had something else before we play the video. All right, so let's play back. Let's continue with the video.
Having its grip on both parties, actually. So it's really more, how did the U.S. government become so hostage to Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and Boeing? That is the question in my mind.
I mean, even people who don't take corporate money in the Democratic Party are for the Ukraine war, and they just vote for military budgets. They vote for that's the reason why it stands out, is because the Democratic Party was supposed to be a left party. They were supposed to be anti-war. Everybody always expected the Republican Party to be right-wing and pro-war. And so that's why it's a different thing now. And everybody in the Democratic Party votes for war. They're all war pigs. And there's a big faction of the Republicans who aren't. In fact, we just covered a story with Matt Getz, who wants us to get out of Africa. You'll never hear Democrats do that. Why is that?
Well, first of all, I'm not enrolled in your perspective on pro-war. I think that there are a lot of people who were
Jesus
very...
fucking Christ.
She's not enrolled in her perspective.
very...
She says this multiple times. Go ahead.
I want her to finish her answer, but she does this all the time. Whenever someone debunks her bullshit, she essentially says, well, I have alternative facts. I'm enrolled in a different belief system than you. That doesn't justify why you're wrong here. In the same way, when I pushed her on Bernie Sanders, and I explained to her how Bernie Sanders is a Democratic operative grifter who's funding the war machine with his votes. And then she said, well, if you feel that way, you shouldn't vote for me. I have a different belief system. And she says this all the time. It's the same thing as Republicans saying alternative facts. She has a different set of alternative facts than we do on war. Bernie Sanders has votes that directly leads to increase Raytheon and Boeing profits. It's not indirect. Not like, oh, there's a technicality here that led to fucking mistake here. No, his vote, direct causation is the increase of profits of Raytheon and Boeing, right? But Marianne Williamson,
go ahead.
I'll pass to CJ. I'm sorry I've been too long here. But Marianne Williamson, like, I don't care if you say those facts to me. I don't care if you bring up votes to me. I don't care if you bring up geopolitical politics to me. I'm not enrolled in your facts. I believe in an alternative reality. Like, she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, fam. Go ahead, CJ.
Remember she did this? It was, I forget the question that was asked, but it was during the post-duopoly show. She was like, well, yeah, if you look at it one way, you can say it's that. Yes. And if you look at it the other way, it was like, oh,
yes, she does it all the time.
God, she does it all the time.
All the time.
All right, so let's play some more. She continues with this nonsense.
Very concerned about the power of the U.S. war machine.
Which ones would those be?
Well, for one, me. I mean,
no, I'm talking about Democrats in Congress or who are elected.
I can't speak so much about Democrats in Congress because I think of Democrats in Congress as so beholden to the corporate.
You're running against the Democratic Party, aren't you? Why are you afraid to name names? But let's continue.
Yeah, I don't get that strategy.
Corporatist Democratic leadership when push comes to shove. Obviously, I do. I wouldn't be running. Notice I'm running and they're not. So a lot of people who say they're progressives who are in Congress fall in line when it comes to that. But I think that there are many of us who do not look at it that way and still have a different view, perhaps, than you do.
What is your view on the Ukraine war?
I certainly am
wrong. She's like, yeah, there actually are a few people that are against the war. And then she immediately about to contradict herself. That's why I'm glad Jimmy brought it up. He's like, okay, if you think that you are some anti-war crusader, explain to me what you think about one of the most relevant geopolitical conflicts of our lifetime. Go ahead.
Now, Nick, let me say this before she answers the question, because this is one of the questions that's in, I think, the description. Because Marianne Williamson stands will to the death swear that she's anti-war. Like, it's an irritating person on Twitter. I think it's Helen something. It starts with his last name starts with a C.
There's a corrected record, boss. Marianne Williamson has a corrected record, the department, and they're very aggressive. These people are not.
Yes,
they're not
that's a good name for them. Correct the record.
No, for real. She's literally engaging in Hillary Clinton's tactics. Like, she has a corrected record department. These are the people you see trolling. Like, oh my God, RBN, why are you so mean to our favorite millionaire white lady?
Yeah. I'm sure some of you have encountered this person I'm talking about, but she swears, and she would look. She's anti-war and posting these things, and I'm like, they have what the professional managerial class, and in particular the managerial class that's on the left, they have so mastered the art of changing the definition of words, and now these definitions are now elastic, where you can stretch them to mean more than they are, so you can be for funding a war. You're
like, CJ,
but then say I'm anti-war. How is that even possible? But go ahead, Nick.
To your point, They said we are anti-war only when we get the geopolitical outcome that we want. That is not what it means to be anti-war. When you're anti-war, you acknowledge you're going to have concessions, you got to negotiate, and you got to have diplomacy. Marianne Williamson, like you're going to see throughout this interview, you're going to see throughout whenever the NATO left talk about this, they will say, well, we can't negotiate with Russia now because that will give Russia a victory. Sir, ma'am, are you anti-war or not? I am not anti-war as long as Putin get an L. That's what they are. We are anti-war as long as Putin doesn't win. We are anti-war as long as the United States doesn't lose. If you're anti-war, you want anti-war at all costs. That's why we keep asking you guys the question, is it really worth hundreds of thousands of dead Ukrainians over Crimea, Odessa, and the Donbass, areas that want to be Russia in the first place? Like, are you guys doing the cost-benefit analysis at all? Is it worth waging war for regions that don't want to be part of Ukraine?
Right.
They like, well, I am anti-war, except that though. What? Anyway, let's continue.
It almost feels like Marianne Williamson and those in the NATO left, it feels like they know the least, like that foreign policy is the thing they know the least about out of everything.
And they're happily
they talk
ignorant.
about. Yes, and they happily to stay ignorant. It's almost like they know what's behind that U.S. imperialism door. So they go, I'm not going over there. I'm not going to open the door, guys. No, this is good. So that they can stay in what the State Department is telling them about this war. They avoid the ability to learn more. They avoid that ability or that access so that they can stay in this State Department talking points line about the Ukraine war. And it feels like that's the sort of non-aggressive behavior that the professional managerial class is known for. Let's continue.
Do not look at it that way and still have a different view perhaps than you do on
what is your view on the Ukraine war?
Well, I certainly am not naive about how we got there. I certainly understand that the U.S. Poked the bear. I certainly understand about the Aegis missiles in Poland. I don't feel that I'm naive at all about how the U.S. war machine works. However, it's kind of like you look at someone like Dwight Eisenhower. On one hand, he is the man who coined the phrase military-industrial complex, and he was the supreme commander of all Allied forces in World War II. It's not an either-or. You can be aware.
She understands that she's not answering the question. Let's not just for those that may be falling for this whole thing. Like
she does this every time.
Like if you think she is just so inspired to talk about all these historical things in this moment, don't think that. This is a deliberate tactic not to answer questions, and I believe in particular she's probably rehearsing not answering Ukraine questions because she knows this is her downfall. She knows that.
Yeah, Eisenhower military-industrial complex bill, she got this 100% rehearsed. Well said. Let's continue.
Yes.
That the military is profiteering in and causing a real terrible problem, as he realized after all that was over at the end of his presidency, and at the same time feels strongly that certain lines must be drawn, certain boundaries, and certain people must be stopped. So when you look at what happened last weekend in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, 40 nations coming together, that's very important what happened last weekend. With China, India was there, Brazil was there, and I think that many of us feel, I feel that actually the fact that Ukraine got some support that it's gotten from the United States and other Western nations is part of what has opened up the possibilities that exist right now for negotiation, because it will be other countries. This is not just.
That's the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life. Fam, what she just said in front of 14,000 people live is that because the United States sent weapons to Nazis, they created a situation where peace is more likely. That is completely false. Russia, like in the beginning, Putin and Russia had plans to keep Zelensky in positions of power. Like if you look at their original ask, at no point did they ask for a new president. No point did they ask for Zelensky to step down. It was December of last year where Putin gave a speech where he was like, all right, after seeing how Zelensky and the Ukrainian government is corrupt and completely sold out to NATO and the West and continue to wage war against our people, their government as it exists right now cannot continue. So my point is, things got worse for Ukraine and peace got harder because Ukraine sided with NATO in the West and waged war and killed tens of thousands of Russian soldiers. So what Marianne Williamson is saying is the complete opposite of reality, where she's saying, well, the fact that the West and the world united around Ukraine created a situation where peace is possible. No, what created the situation where peace is possible is the fact that dumb morons are finally waking up to the reality that Ukraine can't defeat Russia. And how many dead Ukrainians did that take, ma'am? But let's continue, because I can unpack that stupidity forever, but I'm sure there's going to be more. So I'm going to let it continue.
Yeah, there will be more.
And there's so much stupidity in just that little bit amount, but I'm going to hold my tongue here. I'm going to let it play a little bit more.
Just about what the United States says. Most things when it comes to military around the world, it's not a unipolar world anymore. It's multipolar. A lot of nations are involved in this. And so I think we should all be glad about what seems to have begun to happen in Saudi Arabia last weekend.
So I'm trying to figure. So you're saying you support Joe Biden's policy in Ukraine?
What I don't support about Joe Biden's policy is
she thought it was over. She was like, okay, I mumbled and said this word salad so much, there's no way anybody even knows what the question is anymore. So my job is done. And
you know how she did answer the question? She talked about the situation. She brought up an Eisenhower quote, and then she brought up the fact that people are talking about peace. But Jimmy asked you, what is your position on Ukraine? Do you support the Chinese peace proposal? Will you end Ukraine aid? At no point did she mention any of this. That's a rehearsed answer. 100% rehearsed in order to fool people into thinking that she answered the question on Ukraine. I'm gonna bring up Eisenhower quote. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the situation as we know it. That's not your opinion. That's not what you would do as commander in chief. But anyway, let's continue because Jimmy continued to nail it down. Go ahead, CJ.
Is when he says for as long as it takes. He and Lloyd Austin just talk about how we're just giving money for as long as it takes. We need to be in support of a negotiated settlement.
So there already was a.
So let's understand, if this is our answer to the question, do you support, what's your difference between Joe Biden and war stance and yours? Hers, understand, all she said is this is unlimited. That's the difference. That's the difference she's trying to make. So all the money that's already been spent, that's fine. Trying to get tanks to them, that's fine. Cluster munitions, that's fine. She's saying she just would not have make this be an unlimited check. But
how does that make sense? That's the Kyle Kulinski position. And I want to ask you guys, how does that make sense? So you guys are like, we're gonna fund this war a little bit, allow massive amount of Ukrainians to die, and then we're gonna cut the checks out completely and leave Ukrainians on their own. Wouldn't it be better off to skip the middleman and skip the part where tens of thousands of Ukrainians die? If you're gonna have a plan where they're not gonna defeat Russia anyway, why not skip the part where you wage war? You know what I mean? But anyway, let's continue.
Talk about how we're just giving money for as long as it takes. We need to be in support of a negotiated settlement.
So there already was a.
Of course, theoretically, you would say. I mean, Jake Sherman was there, so to some extent, of course, you're aware that in 2014 that the CIA could.
Now, if you begin this part right here, she would have called you mansplaining, Nick, because look what he does here. So let's listen.
The Ukrainian government, with the help of the right-wing Nazis, and then the people in the eastern part of Ukraine, in the Donbass, didn't want to go along with that coup government. And so Ukraine started shelling them. The government of Ukraine, the coup government started shelling them. And so
I forgot, this is something else. To your point, Nick, when you say she is going to be kicked out of I can't remember if you said the NATO left because you're not supposed to discuss this. This is the reason. Because now you can never say, because you look what he's doing. He's reading the evidence, Nick. He's reading it in front of her not allowing you to say, I know it. No. I'm going to finish everything. So you can't say you never heard what I'm about to tell you.
That's a great point.
NATO left. You see what I'm saying? So
that's a great
this
point.
is the reason why they don't want her. This is so to your point, because I didn't understand what you were saying. And I'm like, you know what? They might kick her out for this. Because they don't want this moment. This moment is what they don't want. Go ahead.
So if she does an interview later and she pretends she doesn't know this after Jimmy schools her, you know she's playing a role.
Right.
If Marianne Williamson fans are watching this and they still trying to defend her position, you know they're playing a role. That's a fantastic point, CJ. But look,
right. And I don't know if he did it intentionally, but this is genius to me.
But Marianne Williamson was already on their she was already in bad standing because she ran against Biden, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's why there were a lot of progressives that wasn't already fucking with her. Okay, come on, man. What the fuck? We're supposed to be on the Biden train. You taking the extra step. fuck that step. We're not doing that step no more. So when she does this, she's definitely out of the club. I think after this, it's over for her. Like it's literally shocking to me that the Vanguard is not embarrassed, and other channels are still not embarrassed to say they support Marianne Williamson to this day. But I think this interview is going to be the end. Like the clips was everywhere on Twitter. God knows what other social media look like. This is the end. Like anyone who support her after this, you exposed yourself. So anyway, let's continue. I want to hear more.
Aware that in 2014 that the CIA couped the Ukrainian government with the help of the right-wing Nazis, and then the people in the eastern part of Ukraine in the Donbass didn't want to go along with that couped government, and so Ukraine started shelling them. The government of Ukraine, the couped government, started shelling them, and so they had the peace agreement called the Minsk Accords, which we now know that which was going to give the people in the Donbass, they would stop shelling them, and that they would give them some kind of independence because they were the Russian speakers in that country in the east part. And so Ukraine never followed that peace agreement. And now we know, because Angela Merkel and others have revealed it, that they never intended on following that peace agreement, and they didn't, and they kept shelling those people in the Donbass. And when Putin invaded, it was to stop that shelling. So were you aware of that history?
I am aware of what you are saying. I am not enrolled in your interpretation of exactly what you are saying.
I'm not enrolled.
There's no fucking way. There's no way she fucking said that again. Unbelievable.
She said it like 4 times during the whole interview.
This is some generational shit we watching, fam. This is some all-time legendary shit we are watching. She literally pulled the alternative facts again. But Jimmy said something that is, you can easily Google this shit. You can easily see Western Report on this. Marianne Williamson is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and she lives in an alternative reality than we do. Like, this is why she's writing these crazy-ass culty books. What's the title of her book?
The Mystic Jesus. The Mystic Jesus.
Yeah, she really believes the Mystic Jesus shit. Like, she's crazy. She don't believe shit is real, fam. Nigga, does she believe the sky blue? Nigga, does she believe the civil rights movement happened? Like, what else do you deny? Like, this is
clown shit.
Like, Marianne Williamson supporters, you guys are not embarrassed. See, Josh, you want to hear that again? See, do you want to go back 15 seconds?
I want to hear that.
Marianne Williamson supporters, the Vanguard, please sit down, listen to this. This is mental illness. Jimmy Dore brought up a historical event to her, and she said, I don't believe that historical event happened. That's some Holocaust denial shit. Imagine if someone like, man, you talking about some slavery and shit, like, man, see, I don't enroll into those events. What she's saying is crazy, fam. Like, I am flabbergasted, because I told you I didn't watch this. Like, I wanted to go into this blind. I am flabbergasted, fam. Like, for real, let's continue. And then I'll try to find something smart to say afterwards. Because I don't have a smart analysis. I'm dumbfounded right now. Let's continue, and let me catch my breath.
So to some extent, of course,
you're aware that in 2014 that the CIA couped the Ukrainian government with the help of the right-wing Nazis, and then the people in the eastern part of Ukraine in the Donbass didn't want to go along with that couped government, And so Ukraine
Bro,
started
she's in
shelling
pain
them.
right
The
now.
government of
Look at this.
Ukraine,
Look at her.
the coup government
CJ,
started
look at her
shelling them.
face. She's in
And so
pain
they
as
had the
Jimmy
peace
explained
agreement called the Minsk Accords.
She's trying
Like,
to compose her mouth and not let it come out. You can tell she's trying to compose herself. So at least she's been rehearsing to temper, because considering the news and all the news articles coming out about her temper, she's trying to, at least on camera in interviews, not have that spill out. And I think that's what we're seeing here when you're saying, look, she's seething and she's trying to contain it.
Nick, she's seething right now. Or she's in shambles. Like, imagine someone was telling you your religion is fake. That's what happened to Marianne right now. Jimmy is telling her religion is fake. Anyway, let's continue.
And so Ukraine started shelling them. The government of Ukraine, the coup government started shelling them. And so they had the peace agreement called the Minsk Accords, which we now know that which was going to give the people in the Donbass, they would stop shelling them, and that they would give them some kind of independence because they were the Russian speakers in that country, in the east part. And so Ukraine never followed that peace agreement. And now we know, because Angela Merkel and others have revealed it, that they never intended on following that peace agreement, and they didn't. And they kept shelling those people in the Donbass. And when Putin invaded, it was to stop that shelling. So were you aware of that history?
I am aware of what you are saying. I am not enrolled in your interpretation of exactly what you are saying. I am not. I do.
So what do you disagree with?
I'll tell you the problem I have with it. I do not believe.
Here. He's like, what are you talking? What? What do you mean? Did I misspeak or something?
That Ukraine is nothing but a puppet of the United States.
So you notice here, she says, I disagree. I don't enroll with what you said, with the facts you said. And then he says, what do you disagree? She names something he doesn't even say, Nick. Yeah. That's so telling, because she knows it's nothing what he said. She disagrees. That's factually incorrect. So listen to that.
What do you disagree with?
I'll tell you the problem I have with it. I do not believe that Ukraine is nothing but a puppet of the United States.
When did he say that? When did he say that? When did he say that, Nick? Nowhere did he say anything about them being a puppet in this last question. I mean, because it wasn't even a question. He listed chronologically the things that happened in 2014 to 2015 in Ukraine with the coup and everything, U.S. backed, and listed all this stuff and listed the Minsk Accord. Didn't mention anything about Ukraine being a puppet, Nick. And then he says, what do you disagree with what I just said? I disagree that they're a puppet. What? That's telling, because she is basically, you're not going, Jimmy, with the essence of what we want to go with the Ukraine war, and that is to forget about what happened in 2015, and that is not a reason to why we're here. So she just disagrees, like, with the vibe, not with the facts. That's why she has to say something else. But go ahead, Nick. You were going to chime in.
Anyway, play the part again. Let's continue, because this part I haven't seen this, so I want to make sure I get this in full.
I am aware of what you are saying. I am not enrolled in your interpretation of exactly what you are saying. I am not. I do.
So what do you disagree with?
I'll tell you the problem.
What do you disagree with the stuff he just said about what happened in Ukraine in the coup? That's the question. Now listen to her answer.
Problem I have with it. I do not believe that Ukraine is nothing but a puppet of the United States. So we're not going to agree on that one.
So if we
I think that's him saying, yeah, you're not, that's not even an answer to my question. Oh. That's why he says you're adorable.
She's adorable. Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
That's like saying, bless your heart.
Play that part again, dude. I didn't see this yet. So play that part. That's hilarious.
I'll tell you the problem I have with it. I do not believe that Ukraine is nothing but a puppet of the United States. So
You're adorable.
So we're not going to agree on that one.
So if we stop funding the Ukraine government, the Ukraine government shuts down. Do you know that? Do you know if we stop funding the Ukraine government shuts down, right? We're paying every person in the Ukraine government salary. We're paying their Social Security. You know that, right? Or maybe you don't.
Let me ask you if you know, because I don't like big talk. Do you know? So
I'm asking, do you know that?
Do you know what I know? Listen, I'm not saying that everything is clean between the United States.
No, she's Terrence Crawford right now, fam. Bro, she is Terrence Crawford. Bro, the way she is dodging all these motherfuckers, man. I haven't seen shit like this since Anderson Silva in his prime. Like she's dodging all these questions like she's in the fucking Matrix. Continue. This is way more glorious than I thought it was going to be.
Did you know that?
I know that there are all kinds of business dealings.
So you don't know that? You didn't know that?
That there is money being paid to Ukraine.
That we are paying their entire government salary. You didn't know that? And that's how we could force a peace agreement tomorrow, is because we would just take back that money and their government collapse.
You're right.
This is why she wasn't supposed to talk about Ukraine. Because what she has to do now, Nick, she has to critically think to answer questions. She has to go, what do I know about the Ukraine war? And I just have to give answers, even though she's not studied on this. So he's forcing her to give an answer. No. We're not moving on until you give me an answer on this question. And that's she's being reluctantly dragged. That's what we're hearing, how she's saying this answer. Because listen how she pauses and like takes a deep breath or something, because she says, damn, I'm about to go into the deep end right now and try to put together an answer with the limited information I know about this topic. I'm going to try to put together an answer.
You didn't know that? And that's how we could force a peace agreement tomorrow, is because we would just take back that money and their government collapse.
You're right.
Okay.
That we completely withdrew support from Ukraine, the government of Ukraine would collapse. I certainly understand that. The difference you and I have is that you seem to think that would be a great thing. I don't. I don't think the Russians having complete control of Ukraine and getting their way in this situation is good for Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Finland.
She says she do not think that would be a good thing for the corrupt Kyiv regime to ban socialists and other alternative political parties and ban opposition media from collapsing. Yes, Marianne Williamson, that would be a fantastic thing. You want to know what the alternative to that is? The alternative to that is literally 40,000 more Ukrainians dying in the next few weeks. What's worse, 10,000, hundreds of thousands Ukrainians dying, or a corrupt government being dissolved? To me, that answer is obvious. Marianne Williamson is like, I'd rather have more Ukrainians die than have Zelensky government lose power. And Marianne, by the way, you know the Ukrainian government is fucked, right? You know who owns the Ukrainian government now? BlackRock. But she don't know that. Mean things she don't know about this, apparently. Ukraine is owned by BlackRock after this war. This is not aid, these are loans. So the Ukrainian government, as you know, it will not exist. So what are you preserving at the cost of tens of thousands of Ukrainian lives? Like, absolutely unhinged performance. I'm glad she agreed to do this. And this is why she about to get kicked from the club, CJ. Yeah, like this is some generational shit we're watching right now. This is way more glorious than I thought it was gonna be. But go back like 5 seconds and let it play.
Russians having complete control of Ukraine and getting their way in this situation is good for Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Finland, Sweden, and I do not believe that means there would be peace in Europe. There would be anything but peace in Europe.
So you're just another pro-war Democrat. You really don't have anything.
It's over now.
Damn, Jimmy. Damn. He didn't lie, though.
You're not really against war. You're for this war and all the propaganda that goes along with it, because this was provoked by NATO. There's no point to even have NATO. I mean, this is really disappointing.
Well, I'm
This is
sorry.
this is just like your Julian Assange before. You're just as bad on this as you were on.
Yeah, like the last time he had her on, she was bad on Julia Assange and Medicare for All, and now she's back here and she's bad on this. This is because the professional managerial left, the NATO left, they aren't the leaders of the left. They aren't leading what it means to be left. They just kind of smell the air, say this is where the wind blowing, and I kind of take little parts of it. It's never enough. And that's what she is always behind, Nick. Every year. What is she going to be behind in 2024? I mean 2028. What are you going to be behind? What issue are you going to be behind that everybody's already on that you're going to be behind on? Because she's not a leftist. Go ahead.
She's going to be telling us that Mike Pompeo is right about Taiwan and China. when the war breaks out, when Japan is mobilized, when NATO's ready to go to war with China, she's like, trust me, guys, we got to stop the Chinese Communist Party. I know what was wrong on Ukraine before. Don't trust me. I got it now. I understand Ukraine now. But trust me, you guys are wrong on Taiwan. That's going to be her in like 2 or 3 years.
All right. So I'll rewind it about 10 seconds and then continue to play.
And all the propaganda that goes along with it, because this was provoked by NATO. There's no point to even have NATO. I mean, this is really disappointing.
Well, I'm sorry.
This is just like your Julian Assange before. You're just as bad on this as you were on Julian Assange before. This is bad.
On Julian Assange before, I said I didn't know. I said I didn't know. And for years, I've been supporting Julian Assange. Okay. For years, I have been saying that I have gone to marches and I've visited with this Stella and I've walked around the Parliament building in London.
What do you think? Ask Misty Winston about that, who organized Julian Assange.
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave it there. I had a show. I may post it just so Misty can get some more. We can bring some people to Misty's show, but Misty has a story about Marianne Williamson and the Julian Assange events. How she showed up for the cameras and then they had a direct action afterwards that she didn't show up for.
Oh yeah, and she didn't show up for. And Katie, I was on that stream and Katie Halper showed up to the second one too. So she gave kudos to Katie. But answer me. This is why I stopped it. We stopped it in the same place for 2 different reasons. Mine is, so Nick, what do you think the reason is when you have a NATO left person like this who goes and has this exchange? Why would she not come back today, tomorrow, and go, you know what? You guys have woken me up. Now I understand that this is some bullshit. Like learning, basically. How can a NATO left go through this and see this and then come back and still that's why on that side? I don't understand that. Go ahead.
That's why I don't believe they're good faith, and that's why I view them as oppositional now. Because they know this stuff. Like Ro Khanna tweeted in opposition to Congress funding neo-Nazis in Ukraine in 2018, and now he's trying to pretend he doesn't know this. Are we going to continue to play dumb with them? Are we going to play with their game where we're going to pretend that Marianne Williamson and every single person who support the Biden regime, NATO agenda don't know these facts that Jimmy is talking about? They know. I had maybe a few weeks grace period when Ukraine started. We got that shit right immediately. But I'm like, okay, I get it, you guys. I get the inherent need to want to defend someone else, right?
Yeah.
But you motherfuckers got access to the internet. At this point, a year and a half after the Russian-Ukraine war, hundreds of thousands dead soldiers on both sides, I don't believe that you guys are misinformed on this. I think you guys are literally Nazi collaborators. I believe you guys are active agents of NATO. You guys understand what the agenda and the assignment? You guys understand the assignment? You guys are operating it. I am beyond the point of giving the Bernie Sanders, Marianne Williamson left benefit of doubt on this. Remember Nina Turner's show? When Nina Turner and other black staff member that I'm sure she found that in the needle in the haystack. She found one of the few other sisters that agreed with her that Ukraine deserves like 75. And people wonder why we are oppositional towards Nina Turner. When me and Nina Turner, we used to follow each other, we used to be friendly. But you are actively being a Nazi collaborator, and I know Nina Turner is smarter than me. I know AOC is smarter than me. You guys got the degrees, fam. I'm a college dropout. I'm a dum-dum, right? But this college dropout knows more than you, right? This college dropout
you're not buying it.
I'm not buying it. You guys signed up, took the assignment to be pro-imperialist agents of the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, let's continue.
Yes. This video is almost done. We got 2 minutes left, and then any clips. There is a couple of clips because this video does not cover some of the viral clips that we've seen on Twitter. So let's listen.
I've definitely been in support of Julian Assange and for years.
Okay, well, good. Well, good. People know that. So now people know you're a staunch supporter of the Ukraine war effort. So,
you know, it's funny when you say, well, you would say it's strong supporter of Ukraine war. That's your language. It is not mine. I am strong.
You a weak supporter?
Will you let me finish my sentence?
Sure.
I'm a strong supporter in the path to a negotiated settlement in which there is a Ukraine to negotiate. And what is happening right now to me,
the NATO left, the professional managerial class, they think these hairline differences, if you ever seen a hairline fracture on something, it's like very, very, they think these are huge chasms of differences, these huge differences. This is nothing, which she points out as some sort of difference of saying I wouldn't. So I'm basically saying it's a lot of they use a lot of language that is underwhelming for what it should be, or over depicts what it should be. So when they're talking about the fight that they're doing, it's revolutionary. Our movement is like, what movement? And how is it revolutionary voting for a Democrat? But then when it's talking about something that's bad, then they want to underplay it. And that's what she's doing, the language of the professional managerial class.
Me is in a way a vindication of that view, because now real negotiations are beginning, and real negotiations are beginning because both Russia as well as Ukraine know it's not going to be so easy to get everything you want here. And I'm glad that Vladimir Putin is beginning to have countries like China now for the first time willing to attend a meeting like that, because he will be getting China, India, Brazil, and other countries, not just the United States, who is.
This is someone who has no idea what she's talking about. So, do you guys know that China proposed the Chinese peace proposal on Ukraine that was uniformly accepted by the global South and most of the world population? India signed to it. Russia signed to it. Lula was a strong advocate of the Chinese peace proposal that called for people to support and respect ballot referendums and to support territorial sovereignty of nations. Putin supported China. You want to know who did not support the Chinese peace proposal? Zelensky. Zelensky in the United States did not, because Zelensky's ask for ending the war is taking Crimea back in offensive action. So the Chinese peace proposal says Crimea must stay Russia because we got to respect the sovereignty and the will of the people, because they had a referendum a long time ago to be part of Russia. You had Odessa, you had the Donbass in eastern Ukraine that had referendums to be independent states, not part of Russia, but outside of Ukrainian influence, which Russia support and China support. The majority of the global population support the Chinese peace proposal, except the United States, the UK, France, the global NATO Western powers, and Zelensky. But in this fairy tale, political fan fiction that she's making up right now, she's pretending that China is dragging Russia, that Zelensky and China has a good peace-wanting relationship. Zelensky keeps attacking Xi Jinping and keeps saying that Xi Jinping essentially calling for a Ukrainian surrender, for asking for a peace proposal that most of the world wants. So just go back 5 seconds. I want to explain that, and then I want you guys to hear what she says. Because what she says, I spot this immediately. This is a massive, like open fan fiction here, like completely made up nonsense here. Listen to this.
Willing to attend a meeting like that because he will be getting China, India, Brazil, and other countries, not just the United States, who are saying this thing has got to stop and you're not going to get everything you want.
So it's that kind of attitude that is getting people slaughtered in Ukraine. And it's that kind of naive, that's that kind of attitude, that kind of view of the Ukraine, the NATO and the United States are using the people of Ukraine as cannon fodder to try to inflict economic damage on Russia. And
All right.
so this isn't about liberating from Russia. This is about us
They
provoking.
were already a country. There was
This
nothing.
was-
We're not talking about the Donbass and Crimea.
So you can have this view if you want. It's odious.
You see how
It's
she's the
interesting.
one
So you
interrupting?
think that the people?
You notice how she's the one interrupting, but she's the one who's played the victim? She did the same thing to us. She did the same thing to us. She quickly interrupt you, but you say something, she, how dare you? Jimmy Dore is making a point here, doesn't get one sentence in, and Marianne Williamson, in desperate fashion, does her best to cut her off. Cut Jimmy off. Let's watch it.
Because the points that he's making makes her look worse if she continues to have the stance she has.
About us provoking.
They were already a country. There was
This
nothing.
was-
We're not talking about the Donbass and Crimea.
So you can have this view if you want. It's odious.
It's interesting. So you think that the people of Ukraine and the way they've been fighting in this war are just doing that, just as puppets of the U.S. government? That kind of fighting, that kind of spirit,
What?
that kind of
What kind of spirit are you talking? The only people who are saying these people have some sort of fighting, like never give up spirit, are people who are crafting propaganda narratives.
Yes.
You haven't seen people being snatched and kidnapped to be put to
can.
go fight, unemployed people to go fight. What is she talking about? That's what I'm saying. The only way to have this view, Nick, is that you have to be believing literally State Department like.
She watching Morning Joe. Well, she sounds
That's
just
what
like
she's
Morning
getting
Joe. CJ,
Yes,
remember, this is why we do propaganda report, because I told you, we catch these motherfuckers in 4K repeating the same shit that we see on Morning Joe during propaganda report. During propaganda report, they be like, oh my God, the brave Ukrainians are fighting. Watch Marianne Williamson repeat that same fucking line. And what she says, do you think the Ukrainian people are puppets for wanting to fight this war? They did not want to fight this war.
Right.
Zelensky ran on a peace platform. Something else you didn't know about. The people who provoked this war was the Azov Battalion and far-right fascists who wanted to purge their countries of the Romani population, of Black Muslims and Russians in Ukraine. And anyone who advocated for peace, they threatened to kill. Any peace activist was attacked by the neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Another fact she didn't know. So there's one faction that is bragging about the fact that the West is helping them on their crusade, helping them in their fight. That is the far-right fascist side of Ukraine. Everyone else wants peace. They even threatened to kill Zelensky if he proposed peace, if he called for peace. They threatened to kill him over that. And this is the pattern that the West does all the time. So why does the United States arm terrorists all around the world? Why did the United States arm fascists in Nicaragua? Why did they arm far-right militants in South America under the Reagan years? Because only the most extreme elements of your society is willing to sell out their population in order to accomplish their political agenda. So the same thing that happened in the global South in many coups in many Western-backed countries that the Reagan era and the Cold War supported, these coups. They will back otherwise unpopular political faction, boost them up because they get massive propaganda, massive weapons, and it will help them carry out their violent offensive regimes. And that's what they did in Ukraine. Marianne Williamson has no idea about this. And she thinks that Ukraine is fighting this war because they all just hate Russia, even though 50% of Ukrainians speak Russian and they have familial ties.
She doesn't know anything about that.
She don't know anything. But anyway, it's almost done, so I'll let
she doesn't know anything about that. And I'm going to quickly shout out our Substack. We're about to hit 1,100 people, so make sure you're on our Substack for when we go live and drop clips. We drop 3 to 4 clips every single day. So if you're on our Substack, you get that sent to your email. You can watch it directly in your email, all 4 clips. You also get notifications when we go live. Join our Substack if you would like to get all those notifications. All right, so here we go back to the stream. There's a few seconds left. I'm going to back it up about 10 seconds and let it finish out here.
Yeah,
it's odious.
It's interesting. So you think that the people of Ukraine and the way they've been fighting in this war are just doing that, just as puppets of the U.S. government? that kind of fighting, that kind of spirit, that kind of unbelievable fighting is only because of the puppets of the U.S. government?
Yes, we are. So if you don't know what's happening there, that's fine. But to say that we're not slaughtering those people for an economic war by the West on Russia just shows a naivete about the situation. And it's too bad. It's too bad. So you sound just like, you sound like MSNBC and CNN on this. And it's too bad because that's garbage.
Yeah, that you talk to someone who doesn't agree with you, like by definition, and we're stupid. But that's okay.
By definition, you see how she tries to play this? She tries to play that her bad takes on shit is just the difference of opinion.
Yes.
And she should not be criticized for having an opinion that literally means the deaths of tens of thousands of people. We're just this is what the professional managerial class. Palestinians, they're dying. Kids dying, getting maimed. Whatever. Like, we're just supposed to be like, okay with that? No, you're gonna be critiqued harshly on these things, especially these things that involve people dying and being murdered by the military-industrial complex. I just don't get this her response of being like offended by somebody describing what you're doing as terrible. Go ahead, Nick.
It's the weaponization of civility politics. And you guys see how she's praising the Ukrainian fighting. What? That is so disgusting, guys. How many times have we seen MSNBC? That's why seeing it, Jimmy said you sound just like MSNBC. Whether Marianne Williamson knows it or not, he is literally nailing it. Because that is what they're saying. So when she's praising the Ukrainian fighting, that is pro-war rhetoric. So when we say you're pro-war, Marianne Williamson, we are not exaggerating. She is praising how hard that Ukrainians are dying against the Russian Empire. You guys know how fucking crazy that is? And she thinks
she's trying to describe. She's describing it as their willingness to die in this war is some sort of honorable thing, when that is not really an accurate description of what's happening. Them being duped into fighting, kidnapped into fighting in order just to weaken Russia for this proxy war of the United States. That's the description that the NATO left doesn't want to have to answer yes or no to. They like to describe it in this way that gives them an out, a moral out, to be able to not say that they're scum for supporting something like this. Truly terrible.
John Carter said, this is a good comment, so I'll read it. Sorry, CJ.
Okay.
She romanticized the death of a nation. Gross. You guys know that Ukraine is never going to be the same again. Ukraine as a country is forever gone. She's romanticizing it. I want to show the comment. That's a great comment, John. Great comment, because that's like, I'm literally like, it's disgusting what she's doing here.
Yeah.
It's grossly offensive. But she's like, oh man, it's a small disagreement. Nah, fam. Not at all. Let's continue.
So let me let it play out, and she says the same thing. I just got to hear it again, and then we'll get to the clip. So now we'll go to the clip. So if you have clips, Nick, that you want to play, we can get to these clips now.
I'll let you play it, because I think you got everything I've seen. I didn't see a lot of it, so I think we covered a good bit of it, but I'll pass it. Okay. I'll let you finish all your clips out.
All right. So here goes this last few seconds of her saying this.
You don't know what's happening there. That's fine. But to say that we're not slaughtering those people for an economic war by the West on Russia just shows a naivete about the situation. And it's too bad. It's too bad. So you sound just like, you sound like MSNBC and CNN on this. And it's too bad because that's garbage.
Yeah, that you talk to someone who doesn't agree with you, like by definition, and we're stupid. But that's okay. Is there another subject?
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fantastic. Come see our live shows. We're going to be in.
He got the talking points that he needed to hear. Exactly the same way with me. I was like, all right, we got that. When she told you guys not to vote for her, when she told me that if you have the opinion that you have, don't vote for me, I was like, okay, I got exactly the talking points I wanted out of this, because we got a general. We got the soundbite. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. People got upset at me saying that, but people don't realize that I am quite literally an extremely biased journalist, and the reason why I do this is to advocate for people to lead the Democratic Party. So when Marianne Williamson tells people not to vote for her, a Democrat, I'm like, thank God, thank you for giving me that soundbite. And Jimmy Dore got the soundbite that he wanted based on his questioning, exposing the fact that she's a pro-war supporter of the Ukrainian war. That Jimmy didn't force her to say. She just kind of confirmed it because he gave her an open-ended question saying, "What your position on Ukraine?" And it had her end up romanticizing the death of a nation. That's how it ended. Like, that's her fault, 100%. Anyway, let's
So I believe that we didn't hear this part. So I'll play this section.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. I've seen this clip.
Yeah, she talks about, now it might be a little bit overlap that we've seen in the initial video, but there's parts, maybe half of this video, that was not in that clip that we just saw on Jimmy Dore. So again, the sound, you can hear it, but the sound isn't as clear as the other one. So just let's listen.
They're also out there being pro-war. So that's the biggest issue right now. As we said, how much money do you think we should send to Ukraine? We sent over $100 billion, while there are people living under every bridge in America, and 80% of workers live paycheck to paycheck. How much money do you think we should have sent to Ukraine?
858. We have 858 billion that goes into our yearly defense budget. So the overspending by the military is a huge issue.
This is the same tactic. This is, now I'm pointing it out here so that we can see how the previous one wasn't a happenstance, where you ask her a question and all she does is just kind of retell what the events are instead of asking the question. She does it right here too. This is how you know this is a tactic, not happenstance. She's doing it right here again, not answering the question. I'll rewind it just slightly so we can get the beginning of it. Let's listen.
There are people living under every bridge in America, and 80% of workers live paycheck to paycheck. How much money do you think we should have sent to Ukraine?
858. We have 858 billion that goes into our yearly defense budget. So the overspending by the military is a huge issue, of which Ukraine is a small part. And the fact that we are not funding the people of the United States and the actualization of their dreams is, to me, basically the reason I'm running. But I don't see that as dependent on whether or not we're spending money on Ukraine.
So $100 billion, which they say could end homelessness 4 times over in the United States. That's not a lot of money.
That's not the issue. The issue is that you could say that about any of the money that we spend on the $2 trillion tax cut that should be repealed, where 83 cents of every dollar went to the highest earners and the richest corporations. The billions of dollars we give in subsidies to corporations that are already making billions of dollars. Plus the fact.
So why do you think it is that we can, at the drop of a hat, send $100 billion to Ukraine, the most corrupt country in Europe, but we can't fund our own homelessness in America? Why do you think that is?
Because funding homelessness in America does not serve anybody's corporate bottom line.
Here's the trap, by the way.
She messed up.
I want you guys to see the trap. There's a trap.
So we were both going to comment at the same place. I was going to stop it, and you commented right at that place. You didn't know I was going to stop it, though. She messed up right here because she just going on corporate, because that's what professional managerial class like to talk about. It's all corporate. This is just corporate bad. Nothing to do with capitalism, just corporate. That's all. So she's, there's no corporate bottom line. Wait. So you're saying there's a corporate bottom line in Ukraine? You just said that the Ukrainians are dying, or are fighting for this great reason, and they're great, all this great fighting, this heroic fighting, I should say. And this is a trap, like you said. Let's rewind it 2 seconds and play it and hear her answer and hear her try to clean it up very quickly after she realizes, wow, I shouldn't have said it that way.
It does not serve anybody's corporate bottom line.
And so this war is for corporate bottom line.
Definitely on this one, it is true that this happens to be making money for Northrop Grumman, Boeing, and
so it's not really about helping the people, because if it was about helping the people, we'd start here first, right?
No, actually, listen.
No,
Jimmy,
we start over in Ukraine.
Well, we just sit here and you're gonna.
I'm sorry, I gave you a tough question. Now try to answer it.
Not about that. I do not believe that if only we were not supporting Ukraine, all that money would then go to help the homeless in America.
Where would the money go?
She just got absolutely dismantled, absolutely folded, fam, with just simple questions.
That was pretty
Absolutely
sad.
crumbled.
Oh, here's your. This is what I was looking for earlier. Just your tweet. Why did Marianne Williamson think agreeing to this interview was a good idea? She better run back to her pro-war social democrat echo chamber. What do
Yep.
you think
And
is happening, Nick, in that echo chamber? What do you think the
in that
Sam
echo
Cedars?
chamber,
What do you think the Kyle Kalinski's, Crystal Balls? How can they respond to this besides ignoring this? There is no way, because if they cover this, they also have to cover their terrible stance on Ukraine. Go ahead.
as you seen with this clip, with Jimmy interview, we see our interview with Marianne. When you see Marianne Williamson crumble to the very few horror interviews she got, you see how that pro-war social democrat echo chamber, I'm talking about Kyle and Crystal and friends, breaking points. You guys saw she was palling around with Hassan Piker as well. They didn't grill her on Ukraine like this. They don't view Ukraine as an important issue. They don't view empire as an important issue to race to someone running to be commander in chief for some reason. They don't view that as important. So when she's asked about Israel and Palestine by me, when she's grilled on Ukraine by Jimmy Dore, she is woefully unprepared because she's used to having people that are in her cult and her staff, the people who worship her because they read her books, don't ever question or challenge her. And she also used to being around this culture of civility where people will allow you to just bullshit because calling that bullshit out is rude, correct? So when she sees Jimmy dismantling her, you see she's had almost another meltdown at the end. Well, why won't you allow me to spill bullshit on your show? And Jimmy destroyed him. He's like, well, I'm sorry I'm asking you a tough question. Now, can you answer it? And she was exposed as a complete moron once again. But CJ, any other clips? Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, there is another one. I believe it's this one right here. 2020 situation and choice. Yeah, I believe it's this one right here. This is the last one, by the way. Less than a minute. Let's listen. This one is by Post Duopolis or Dirtbag Left on Twitter.
Thing to RFK Jr. when he came on the show, because here they're not going to give you a debate, right? So they're not going to let you debate him, and you and then his allies brush off the call for a debate. And so what I told RFK Jr. was, you'd be better off running as a Republican because Republicans don't have super delegates, and the reason why the Democrats have the super delegates is so someone like you can't win, and so you'll never win. And so why run inside the Democratic Party? Why not run outside the Democratic Party?
Well, the question, everything that you're saying is true. I mean, I don't know that last sentence, they'll never let. The issue is whether or not you could ever create a situation where they didn't have the choice.
So tell me.
What does that mean?
Hold up. So I said,
let me find the trigger. Hold on.
They're not going to.
There we go.
I think because that was the end of that. So Jimmy asked her, why run as a Democrat when you know that the system is rigged? They won't let you debate. And Marianne Williamson says, well, how do you know we can't magically create a situation where we allow the corrupt party to allow me to win, even though they just said we won't have debates? You guys see how Marianne Williamson and her supporters are cultivating a dumb left? Her answer to that question is, essentially vibes, bro. Come on, don't ruin my vibes. We will gather together. If we believe in the power of friendship and we lock arms together, we believe in the power, the heart of the cards, and we believe in ourselves. We can truly believe it. We got the vibes. And then when it doesn't happen, they're gonna be like, oh damn, what happened here? I don't know, man. We just made a mistake. You guys see how they're cultivating dumb leftists? This is the dumb left. No plan. No intelligence, no strategic planning on how to get to point A to point B. How are you going to get there, Marianne? I don't know, vibes and the power of friendship. We're going to get the Dragon Balls together. Maybe we get the Dragon Balls and we can ask for it. We get a wish together. Maybe a genie and a lamp will come down the river and I can ask for the presidential. Maybe they'll give me a debate. Maybe Nancy Pelosi will wake up and realize that her heart will grow 3 times like the Grinch.
How is it, Nick, though?
What is your logic? But go ahead, CJ. You see what I'm saying?
No,
right?
I'm going down the same question.
Go ahead, CJ. I'll pass to you.
No, I don't get the same. I mean, I was going to say the same thing. I forgot what I was going to say. What is their logic? I don't get. Oh, this is what I was going to say. professional managerial class has degrees, Nick. Degrees. How is it that people that got college degrees, all these special names for their titles, but when you ask them questions about this strategy, about running within the Democratic Party and supporting some of the things the Democratic Party is doing, they start stumbling over words. They got logic that doesn't logic, that don't add up. Like, how is it that you don't have this with all your degrees? How is that? Because you're trying to sell shit that you know is not a good thing. You're trying to sell a lemon, is what you're trying to do. And the fact that you know it's a lemon and you're trying to sell it to working class people, that's what makes you worse than some of the people you call out on the conservative side. That's what makes you worse. Go ahead.
So we know that Marianne Williamson's staff hates her guts. The same way that Kamala Harris' staff hates her guts, right? So people wonder why Kamala Harris go out there and she do these speeches that sound completely incoherent, because they've been reporting that Kamala Harris is a horrible boss. She demeans people. She yells at them. So they're like, nigga, we're going to write some bullshit and we're going to watch her fail. No one can convince me that is not true. Now, Marianne Williamson, based on very credible reporting, is a horrible boss herself. She got people locked up in NDAs as we speak.
Yeah.
And the people right now who staying on her campaign like, no, I can't lose this job. Nigga, I can't lose this opportunity. These motherfuckers hate her ass every damn day. Every damn day she's throwing a stapler at them. Every day she fucking with them. So one day, one of her staff members walked up to CJ and like, hey, Marianne, I have an idea. Let's go on the Jimmy Dore show. I'm sure you're going to do just great, Marianne. Like, Jimmy Dore, I don't know about that. No, trust me, Marianne. You're going to slay. The staff member that booked her to go on Jimmy Dore is fired, getting chewed out. God knows what's going on with her. Because that was an amazing prank to end your run with Marianne Williamson's campaign. The staff member that agreed to do this hates Marianne Williamson's guts. And no one can convince me otherwise.